Okay, everybody wide awake, ready to go? You got now that you've eaten, you got want some more coffee, everybody good? Okay, first of all, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay? I just turned on the microphone, so. The title of tonight's presentation is Retirement Readiness. Just by show of hands, who's ready? Who's ready? Figuratively, not literally. We're going to find out if I'm literally ready, but figuratively, who's ready for retirement? Sort of, kind of. Okay, didn't mean to ask that. The whole idea is really, what is retirement? Retirement might be in a lot of ways different than it used to be. You know, it used to be you worked at the same company forever, you got a great pension from that company, tons of money from the government through Social Security, and how long was your retirement? A few years. Now, we live a lot longer, we're in good health when we retire. It's the next stage of our lives. So it's a lot longer retirement where, what's the number one thing we need to enjoy that retirement? We need an idea, we need a plan. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the plan. So a few guidelines. My role tonight is to give you information, give you all the tools and resources that are available about all the different facets of retirement planning. Hope you all plan on being here until about 12:30, 1 o'clock this morning. It's not long, so just sit back and get real comfortable. I'm not going to give you specific tax information or legal advice. That's one thing we're not licensed to do. But I will give you a lot of tools and resources, a lot of different websites that will give you that information. And your job is to really start thinking about it. Start doing some more research. Start asking people that have retired how they're enjoying it. What are they doing? How do they set everything up? So just get an idea of how it's going to take place. So this is all we're going to cover tonight. We're going to talk first and foremost about your retirement plan benefits. How you start taking the money out. When you can start taking the money out. A lot of those specifics. We'll talk about Social Security. Everyone brought their statement, right? From Social Security. Because we're going to go over that in a lot of detail. Okay? We're going to talk about income and expenses in retirement. We're going to talk about Medicare. We're going to talk about the possibility of, or the need for long-term care insurance, and why we want to continue with, say, a life insurance policy for whatever reason. We'll talk about the pros and cons of that. A little bit about estate planning, but more importantly, how we invest the money now, and how we invest the money all the way through retirement. Because again, with your time horizon being rather long, you don't say, okay, I'm retired, put all my money in cash. How's that cash going to do for you over a long period of time? If you look at your savings account lately, it's not going to do too well, so just keep that in mind. And by the way, please jump in at any time, ask any questions. Retirement plan benefits. You have 2 great retirement plans here at the university, and you can start drawing the money out at age 59 and a half from the 403B plan. That's the magic age for that one. So 403B, age 59 and a half. When it comes to retirement, you'll have several options, and I'll talk about those in a few minutes. With the retirement plan, the 9% STU contribution, that money can be taken out after you leave, and more importantly, it can be taken out however you want, whenever you want, as long as you meet the little rules set up by the IRS. Because yes, the IRS does have some rules that you have to follow. We all know the IRS has those rules, right? Okay. Here are the distribution options in more detail. First thing you can do, and a lot of people start out thinking this is the only option, is to roll it over. Either roll it over or choose an annuity option. Roll it over to another IRA account. Roll it over with all your other retirement plans. Sure, it is a little bit more flexible. What you really have to be aware of, though, typically there are going to be fees involved with those retirement accounts. So do your homework. Everybody probably has the best IRA product under the sun. Of course, when you roll it to an IRA, what are you typically going to have? You're going to have different investment choices. You're going to have possible management of the portfolio. What are you also going to have? Is it going to be free? No, so make sure you know what the fees are if you're rolling. Make sure you do homework as far as that's concerned. So that's really the first option. Second option, do nothing at all. Now, within both of the retirement plans, once you leave, you're still a participant in the plan. You don't have to choose an annuity right away. You don't have to choose an annuity ever. You don't have to tell us how much you want to take out. In fact, right away, you don't have to take anything out if you don't need it. You can say, all right, Diversified, of course you have to fill out paperwork for this, but you can say, all right, send me $300 a month, or send me $3,000 a month. Send it directly to my bank account. But the important thing with leaving it in the plan, when you start distributing it, you take it out however you want, whenever you want, as much as you want, as long as you meet the IRS limitations. And the IRS does have one little rule, and that is called required minimum distribution. Now, that doesn't start until you're 70 and a half, which I know for most of us is at least 20, 25 years from now, right? So with the required minimum distribution, the IRS says, all right, you've saved this money for all this time, you're 70 and a half, they send you a birthday card on your 70th birthday, and you say, when you turn 70 and a half, make sure you start taking out what's called your required minimum distribution. And what that is, it's, okay, you live to 70, now according to their mortality tables, you're going to live 22 more years, maybe 20, maybe 18, but according to their tables, you're going to live about 20 years, so you have to start taking out 1/20th of your pre-tax accounts each and every year. Just make sure, wherever you are, if the money's still in the plan, if it's in an IRA account, that company will let you know that it's time to take your required minimum distribution. So don't worry about it. Just make sure that you do it. Don't put it off and say that. If you're still, by the way, one other thing that, if you're still working, you do not have to take your required minimum distribution from that particular plan. So here at SBU, you're 70 years old, you do not retire. With the retirement plan, the defined contribution plan, and the 403B plan, you don't have to take your required minimum distribution. But your other IRA accounts, or any of the pre-tax monies that you have, you do have to take them. So just keep that in mind for the distributions. There are several annuity options out there. You can take an annuity. The beauty of an annuity is a guaranteed lifetime payment for your life and possibly the life of your spouse. That could be for your life only, depending on your situation, depending on other products, other policies that you have. Take an annuity. You live to be 110, you did pretty darn good. You probably took more money out of that annuity than you put into it. But if you take a single life annuity and you only live 2 more years, guess what? The annuity is pretty much over. So keep that in mind. Also, the biggest thing beyond that is the investment control is gone. There are a lot more flexible annuity options nowadays, but the biggest thing is with that second option, with the option above that, you still invest the money at Diversified, even though you're taking $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. Once you take the annuity, you're getting that $1,200 a month, and that's it. There's no underlying investment anymore. Annuitizing a portion of it to pay for maybe healthcare expenses or maybe an insurance policy that you're trying to keep, that might be a good idea. This is where one of the things really come in, where you have to do your homework. Figure out what your budget's going to be. Everyone wants their checkbook, because we're going to do a budget later, right? Okay, we'll do that. Oh, by the way, last thing, you could take the money and run. Just realize you're not going to run too far, because the IRS will be very happy that you took that money out. So just keep that in mind. Take the money out, but you will have to pay taxes on it. Within both of these options, there is also mandatory withholding. 20% withholding. A lot of people say, well, gee, that's a heck of a lot of withholding. Talk to the IRS about that. So 20% mandatory withholding. A lot of times, people fill out their tax forms at the end of the year and get a good chunk of that back. But 20% is non-negotiable. You can withhold more if you like. I haven't met too many people that wanted to withhold more, but you can if you really wanted to. The good thing is here, we don't have to worry about state taxes. Yeah, we won't, right? Good. Any questions on the distribution options? Okay, my other job is to make this stuff as fun, exciting as it possibly can be, so we need to get up and do some jumping jacks. Is everybody still good? Okay. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about Social Security. First thing we're going to do, we're going to tell you how they calculate Social Security. Best way to find out if you really want to know is go to ssa.gov. That is the Social Security website. You can actually apply for benefits on their website. You can find out how much money you will get when you're 62, 63, 64, 72. Well, don't wait past 70 because that's where the maximum benefit ends. But you can find out from Social Security what your amount's going to be, how they roughly calculate it. They look at your 35 years of earnings, your highest 35 years of earnings. They put it into a formula, and it results in an average monthly index of earnings throughout your entire working career. It's a good idea to make sure when you get that little Social Security statement we all get in the mail every year. Everybody reviews those and make sure that everything is on there correctly, right? You go online and make sure that every dollar you've ever made in your entire life is reported to Social Security. It might be a good idea to do that because Social Security is actually found people have found that years were not reported to Social Security. So the job we had way back in the summer of I'll just leave it right there. Make sure that that's on that result. Make sure that that's added into your calculation so that you get the highest amount possible. A lot more specific on Social Security. You only pay Social Security up to a certain wage amount. Social Security will be here forever and ever in the guaranteed amount that it is today. So whatever you see on your statement, bank on that the day you retire. A lot of these questions come up a lot though. This one especially. When should I take it? What is my break-even point? Should I take it as soon as I'm eligible, regardless of whether or not I'm working? If you're working, probably not. Because they're going to, the proper term is they're going to withhold a certain portion of it until you reach full retirement age. And then they'll give it to you. But if you're still working full time, chances are they might withhold all of it until you reach full retirement age. So that's one of the things to consider. Also, and this is something that, we've had a lot of seminars where Social Security actually was there and tried to answer these questions and ducked under the table when we told everyone in the room about this. But now, with Social Security, guess what else you have to do with it? You have to report it as income and pay federal taxes on it. If you make over a certain amount, and that certain amount's not very high. So again, the website will tell you the specifics on what amount. Basically, if you make over $50,000 from any source, that is distributions from all your retirement accounts. That is a pension plan. That is money from income, from a property. If that amount is over $50,000, at least 80% of your Social Security will be reported as taxable income in the year you take it out. So that's why when you go to apply for Social Security, they ask them what amount you want withheld. You say, withheld? Why would I want withholding for my Social Security? Well, that's because you have to pay taxes on it. So just keep that in mind. Maybe you say, well, I'm just going to wait till the last possible time to take my Social Security, because then it'll be a lot higher. Yes, it might be, but if you've watched the news lately and you've heard it all about what the forecast is for Social Security, I think they'll change Social Security over the next several years. I think they're going to have to. So think about this. Once you start getting the benefit, you think they're ever going to say, oh, by the way, you're getting a pay decrease next year? Are they going to do that to retirees? Hopefully not. But what they can do, you don't take it, you don't take it, you say, I'm waiting a little bit longer, I'm waiting a little bit longer, and then guess what? The law changes. And you wish you, can I go back? I want to go back a couple years and take that benefit when I could then. So just keep that in mind. It's another thing to really think about when you're looking at when to take your benefit. Here's one other reason to maybe wait a little bit longer. Not only are you still working, typically later in your career, your earnings are higher, but Social Security also gives you an increase for every year after normal retirement age. And when I say normal retirement age, let me clarify that too. Some people think it's 65, and for Medicare, it is absolutely 65. You are enrolled in Medicare on your 65th birthday. That's something very, very important. For Social Security though, most of us in this room have a full retirement for Social Security age of what? 60, some of us 66, some of us 67, some of us 67 and 7.5 months. So 66 is full normal retirement age up to 67.5 right now. If you wait up until age 70, your benefit will increase by between 7 and 8% a year. Not only are your wages being calculated in that factor, but you will also get an increased benefit. That's why on that statement, a lot of people I've talked to recently have said, well, gee, my Social Security thing says my best benefit is when I'm 70, so I have to wait until I'm 70 to get my full benefit. No, your full benefit is at 66 or 67, but your enhanced super duper benefit is at 70. So again, it's just a matter of figuring out which time is best for you. If your income is rather low, you say, forget it, I want to retire earlier, then take it as soon as you can get it. Especially if you plan on living to 110. Or if you plan on living to 110, maybe you want to work till you're 70, then you want to get the higher amount. So it's really just a matter of, how do I figure it out? When do I do it? When do I take my benefit? And SSA.gov, you can find out all that information right there. They will tell you what amount you get. You can actually sign up for it online. They're really, really promoting that now. Everything's online, even Social Security, even Medicare. And we'll talk about Medicare in a couple of minutes, but with Social Security, the biggest thing is you draw your benefit, you start getting that benefit, and it's going to last forever. But how much do I want? Do I want to wait and get a little bit more? Or do I say, you know what? I want it now. Even if it's not going to be that much, at least I'm guaranteed to get that amount. And sure, some of it will be withheld if I'm still working. Keyword is withheld. Withheld as in, you're still going to get it, you're just going to have to wait a couple of years to get it. So they're going to pay you your full benefit when you reach normal retirement age, because normal retirement age, you can have, well, the year after normal retirement age, you can have full income and get your whole Social Security benefit. And again, a lot of intricacies to Social Security. That's why on the website there are 70 or 80 pages just on the website. So keep that in mind. Any questions on Social Security? Yes?
Is there an easy rule of thumb on how to determine when a non-working or retiring, potentially retiring spouse should, if you've got one working and one not, how do you maximize that?
Typically, the best thing to do is do the same. You can do the same calculations with the website and figure out if they wait till their full retirement age, or if they're eligible for half of your Social Security. The website will actually give you the best case scenario for those. Another thing along those lines is, and this is not really specifically close to that, but let's say you have a former spouse, and you're married to that former spouse for 10 years. And that former spouse's Social Security, you're eligible for their benefit. So, this has come up in a couple social securities. So if I'm married 3 times, 10 years each of those people, I can figure out which one of those social security benefits is higher and take those. Yeah, but you probably worked too, so, but yeah, there is a spousal benefit if you're married to someone for 10 years or longer. And the only way it would really be beneficial is if their benefit or half of their benefit is higher than your normal benefit. So that's another thing that does come up occasionally. So if you were married for 10 years and you did not remarry, then you're eligible for your ex-spouse's Social Security if it's a higher amount. But to specifically answer your question as to when your spouse should take a benefit, it really depends on what Social Security says is the best time to do it.
And the website has little calculators?
It does, yes, yes.
Let me hitchhike on that, because that was absolutely a surprise to us when we realized what it would mean. It almost feels like gaming the system. For my wife to take her spousal benefit rather than her own, to let hers accrue. And it was the Social Security counselor who told us about that. I actually recommend making an appointment and talking to these people in person. Now, I haven't even done the sort of preliminary things on the website, but we learned some things from the counselor that just no one wrote about, no financial column, no seminar, and on the website. It was, wow. And it turned out to be much more to our advantage to have my spouse use my benefit rather than either of us taking our own.
Yeah, so there's a lot, that's why it's really good to use the local person for that information. So that's a good. Okay, moving on to more fun, exciting stuff. Now we're going to talk about Medicare. Okay, hold on to your chairs, come on. Okay. The A, B, C's, and D's of Medicare. Part A and Part B, talk a little bit about that. Medigap insurance, which is private insurance. Part C, Medicare Advantage. And finally, Part B. Now, this afternoon, I decided to log on to Medicare.gov and decided to put in my zip code just to see the Medicare Advantage and the prescription drug plans. And by next Tuesday, I'll report back to you what I found out. It's going to take at least that long. In my zip code alone, just for Part B, in my zip code in Spokane, there are 28 different options that Medicare says is available. That's how they made Medicare so much easier and so much better to figure out, right? Adding all these insurance companies to offer private plans that are helpful but very difficult to decipher. The one good thing is, though, for Part D specifically, and I'll get on this in a second, with Part B, you put in all the drugs you're currently taking, and Medicare.gov will tell you what your out-of-pocket cost will be and what the best plan for you is from one perspective, from a cost perspective and a cost perspective only. So it is good from that standpoint. Okay, real quickly, Part A and Part B. What does Part A cover? Or excuse me, who is eligible for Part A? If you are 65 and or eligible for Social Security payments, you're eligible for Part A. Same with Part B. Part B, if you're not taking Social Security and you decide to get into Part B, then you will be billed on a quarterly basis the premium. Yes, there is a premium for Part B. We'll talk about that in a second. What does Part A cover? Hospital stays, skilled nursing facilities, some home health, some hospice care. What does Part B cover? More physician services, outpatient hospital services, and sort of kind of stuff not covered by Part A. What are the premiums? There are no premiums for Part A. Once you're in the system, you're in Medicare. For Part B, there is a monthly premium. That monthly premium is $110 a month. And that is taken right out of your Social Security. And again, if you're not taking Social Security and you opt into Part B, you'll be billed on a quarterly basis to pay for the other covering things. There's also an annual deductible for Part B, and there is an initial hospital deductible for Part A. After so many days, you have to pay for the first so many days. You automatically enroll in Part A. You can enroll in Part B at any time. Now, this is really important. If you're still employed, you're probably going to be, it's going to be suggested that, well, you're in Part A. So Part A is primary, your insurance is secondary, and then after that, after you retire, you enroll in Part B. You're waiting longer, so you're not going to have to pay anything extra because you're waiting longer because you're still employed. So you're not using Part B. Well, let's say the opposite happens. Say you roll the dice, you say, all right, I'm retired, I'm in really good health. I don't need Part B. I'm not going to do Part B. And then 3 years go by, and you're like, you know what? I really want to be in Part B now. So you go back to the Medicare office and say, all right, I'm going to sign up for Part B now. Guess what? You waited 3 years. You can do it, but guess what? You're going to pay a penalty for every month you waited past when you should have taken it. So it's a pretty hefty amount, sort of like any, because chances are you opted out of Part B because you were perfectly healthy. Now you're opting into Part B because you're still perfectly healthy and you really just want to pay a higher premium. No, chances are you might need it, or the chance of needing it is higher, which is why you're going to pay a little bit more. So again, use the website to find out specifically what it covers exactly, but there's a general.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
If you did work past 65 and therefore opted not to enroll in Part B, and then upon retirement, let's say at age 68, whatever, you then elected to sign up for Part B, would there be that same back?
Nope. You have 7 months after you're retired to enroll in Part B without any extra fees or anything. So 7 months. That's again, it's on the Medicare.gov website, but 7 months is the time frame that you have. Medigap is exactly what it's called. It's filling in the gaps, and it can cover deductibles. It usually should be applied within 6 months of enrolling in Part B. And here are the Medigap plans. Yes, we have A through J, or excuse me, A through L. If you look up here, you see there's a lot of check marks in different boxes. The Cadillac plan is the Medigap Part J, which covers a basic benefit, skilled nursing, Part A deductible, Part B deductible, Part B excessive, foreign travel emergency insurance, at-home recovery, a drug benefit, and preventative care. So it's the Cadillac plan, so guess what? It's going to cost quite a bit more. So here, again, look at all your options, look at your current situation, and decide what you need to help you fill in the gaps. In addition to that, maybe you have a special condition that requires you to visit a specialist on a regular basis, or something along those lines. Or you know you're, for whatever reason, you're going to have to go to the hospital every 6 months for a few days. Then you might be looking at Part C, which is Medicare Advantage, which is going to cover everything above Part A and Part B and all the gaps. So Medicare Advantage with a prescription drug plan would cover everything. And again, this is where you really, you know your medical history, you know your current situation, and Medicare.gov will be there to assist you. That's the other important thing. Now we have Part D. And again, Part D in Spokane, 27 different companies offering 27 different plans that vary in cost from the Walmart plan is $8.57 a month. Yes, there is a Walmart prescription drug coverage plan. There's almost every pharmacy has a prescription drug coverage plan. So know what your medication requirements are, Figure out if you think, and actually the great thing on the website, it shows you down to the dollar what your out-of-pocket will be. Because remember, now Medicare does cover a basic drug benefit up to about $3,000. $3,000 might get you pretty far, or if you're on 2 or 3 heart medications or kidney medications or something along those lines, it might be a lot more. The other thing is that the prescription drug plan and Medicare do is, you know, right now in your prescription drug plan, you have tiers. All different drugs are on different tiers. Medicare does too. Medicare has 4 tiers. And Medicare, based on some drugs that are really popular, some drugs change tiers. I got a personal example. My father-in-law was on a heart medication, and he was paying $37 a month. And he walked into the local Shopco, and the lady at Shopco got behind the counter and said, "Hi, Hans, how are you?" He found out that his one heart medication went up 2 tiers, and his new premium was $172 a month. It went from $37 to $172 a month. And that's just because it changed tiers on Medicare. So there's a lot of intricacies about the prescription drug coverage. Okay, I know that was a very brief overview. If this is the website, find out what your situation is. If you're still working at 65, you're in Part A. Apply for Part B within how much time? Correct. Within 7 months of retirement. And decide if you think you're going to need Medicare Advantage or a Medigap plan. Any other questions on Medicare right now? Yes?
Actually, just a comment, but most of you are probably familiar with the Emeriti program that the school contributes to you each month a little bit. That Emeriti is retiree medical, and it's designed to be there in retirement only, not now, for this kind of a Medicare gap policy and or basically a flexible spending. So there's actual 2 options, either purchasing that kind of a Medicare insurance, gap insurance, or actual direct expenses like an FSA would be. Either one only for retirement. So that's exactly what the Emeriti program is all about.
And thank you for bringing it up, and that's another very important thing. The Emeriti program is still with Fidelity. We've had a lot of people questioning about the Emeriti plan, saying, well, when's that money going to roll over? That one is still the same investment that you've always had. That is not changing at all. Emeriti is currently in the current plan, not related to your retirement account at all. Okay, now we're going to talk real quickly about 2 other important things, those being life insurance and long-term care. A lot of people say, well, I'm retired, I really don't need life insurance anymore. And there's a few bullet points show reasons why you probably don't need insurance in some cases. The risk of income usually decreases in retirement. The risk of loss of income. Children are usually grown. You usually have grown children when you retire, right? Your house may be paid off, and your retirement income might be covered by all other sources. However, you might have funeral expenses that you want covered, estate taxes might be due, and you might want additional supplemental income for your spouse. Because you did have a pension plan, and in that pension plan you chose life only, or you annuitized one of your retirement accounts and said, all right, I want the most money possible because I'm going to live really, really, really long. The most money possible in any annuity contract is your life only, not your spouse. So those are a couple reasons to maybe convert one of your policies that you have, or consider some sort of term policy to at least pay off some things. Long-term care. Long-term care is just a definition of long-term care. Medical and non-medical care for people with a chronic illness or disabilities. Typically, they need assistance with the activities of daily living And it can be provided in many, many different ways. Last bullet point is really one of the most important. You don't know when you hope you never are going to need that facility, but it could happen at any age. So those are a few things about long-term care. And long-term care costs are going up. We see these examples here. A semi-private room is going to cost about $183 a day. That on an annual basis is about $66,000. A private room over $250 a day. You might be thinking, well, I'm not going to be there that long. The average stay over 2.5 years. And typically Medicare does not cover services for the ADLs. They cover home health, they cover some hospice cares, but in a lot of cases, they're going to cover a portion of it, but the fancy word for it, I'll say in a couple minutes. They'll cover allowable charges. What's an allowable charge? We're not going to open it up to the room right now, but you get the idea there. And I know there isn't any currently, but chances are inflation will probably creep in here one of these days, right? Okay. Inflation, if we go back to 2007, $94,000. That amount in 2017 is going to be about $240,000. So costs are going up. Costs for things like this are going up, and it's important to protect yourself. A lot of you say, well, great, it's too late, not even worth talking about now. It's really never too late, and I've heard people compare it to auto insurance. Nobody can drive. Of course, auto insurance is a little bit less expensive than long-term care insurance is. You get the idea. It's something we hope we'll never need, but we don't know. And what will Medicare cover? Let's look at that first. Okay, 1 to 20 days in a long-term care facility. After, or with it begins with 3 days of a 3-day hospital stay, within 30 days. Allowable charges for skilled nursing is what Medicare will pay, and you pay everything else. Day 21 to 100. There's a $119 per day deductible. Then they'll cover everything else. Allowable charges. And you'll pay everything else. After 100 days, only if it's prescribed will Medicare pay. So now you get into, well, where am I going to get the money for this? You know, having extra retirement savings is a great thing. Having personal savings is a great thing. Having family and support for the caregiving aspect would be a great thing. There is long-term care insurance. There is a reverse mortgage, which, you know, reverse mortgages sound really, really, really good. But when something sounds really, really, really good, what's usually the catch there? Is it too good to be true? Could be too good to be true. So be very careful with the reverse mortgage. Medicare, and then there's always Medicaid, which is the state-provided option, which basically is your estate. So those options are definitely something to think about. What does a long-term care insurance policy do? What it does, again, there are all the way from A to Z for long-term care plans. Several different places you can find out information on long-term care plans. One of them is Medicare.gov. Again, Medicare.gov, it does list all the different providers, all the different plans that are available for your area. A couple things you definitely want to get when you're looking at a long-term care policy. And again, it's not really too late. There are several breakpoints. The breakpoint is really roughly every 5 years or so. Now you're 45. Once you reach 50, the prices go up quite a bit. Then you reach 55, and they go up a lot more. Then you go up to 60, but really those are the break points for when the Medicare, or excuse me, when the long-term care insurance increases in price. But, you know, it's more affordable than you might think, where this is where an annuity might come in good for a portion of your retirement. Yes, the premium might be rather high, but we looked at those costs a little bit earlier. The cost of the policy might be peace of mind in case an event like that were to happen. Does that make sense? And again, figure out what you can possibly afford. Several different places where you can find out information on Medicare. Medicare.gov is one place. The National Association of Insurance Commissioners has an entire shopping guide to long-term care. And Trans-American Retirement Services, that is our retirement planning unit, has long-term care options. Give them a call for a complimentary consultation. Their phone number, 866-300-0028. Just find out what the possible options are, find out what the costs are, and find out what the ways to pay for it are, because there are some. Any questions right now that I can answer on long-term care? A couple other things to think about when you're looking at policies. First and foremost, inflation protection is a very important thing. Another very, very, very important feature is waiver of premium. Last thing you want to be worried about if you're thinking of needing the services is to continue to pay the premium. And some policies also have what's called non-forfeiture, where they can't cancel the policy, especially once you started. So those are three things to look at when you're looking at long-term care. I know we covered that real briefly. The best thing, go to the Medicare website, use our resources. Another great place to go for long-term care and for Medicare policies would be AARP. I've got a great story about AARP. I'll mention in a couple minutes when we talk about estate planning. But AARP is a great place to get a referral, a great place to find out the different policies that are available. Keep in mind that those policies issued through AARP are not by AARP. They are issued by private insurance companies, but AARP is a great resource. And I'll mention why again in a couple minutes. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into the real nuts and bolts, which is your budget and how to spend all the money. We have to think about one more thing. What's another word for estate planning? It's a good idea to prepare for something like this by having all your ducks in a row, having your estate plan set up for specific reasons, such as who will benefit from your estate. How do I minimize estate taxes? Well, the laws seem to just keep passing that law every few years, and there won't be any concern for estate taxes. Do I want to benefit my children? Do I want to benefit a specific charity? You can specify how you want your estate settled. It's important, though, to make sure you do that. I know it's not something we're like thinking about, but it's much, much better than letting it go to... Ultimately, if you don't decide anything, who's going to decide for you? Well, your loved ones, right? Your loved ones will have no questions about anything you left for whoever, right? They might, so have an estate plan set up for that reason too. We'll talk a little bit about wills, contracts on retirement plans or aka beneficiaries. Talk a tiny bit about trust. There's a great website that helps you set up a trust, helps you set up a will. Make sure those documents are correct and updated properly. Talk a tiny bit about a living will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare proxy. It's very, very important to have that information set up properly as well. Okay, with a will transfers property upon your death. It appoints an executor. It pretty much says, these are my wishes, this is what I want to happen. Interesting here. It could expedite the probate process. Ideally, what do we want? We don't want the probate in there at all. Because probate usually involves what? Usually involves lawyers, which involves what? Involves, your money could very well be gone by the time everyone stopped arguing about it. So probate is something you definitely want to avoid. A lot of times, a will somewhat minimize that, but not necessarily all the way. So set up your will, and by the way, you can change your will at any time as long as you are competent. And I believe the state of Washington, you can write your will down on a piece of paper and sign it, and it's good. So there are a lot of it might not be the best way to do it, but it could. Nobody start writing right now. Yes.
Does every estate have to go through probate?
If you have a trust set up properly, then no. If you have, like one thing that definitely avoids the probate process would be retirement assets. Retirement assets are not subject to probate at all if you set up a beneficiary, which is why it's very, very, very important to go to our website and designate your beneficiary, because a beneficiary form is a legal binding contract that supersedes a will and totally avoids probate. If your beneficiary is on file in your retirement account, no one can contest it. No one can argue it. That's one way you can definitely avoid probate, with your putting your beneficiary on your retirement account. And you can actually do that simply by going to our website. Obviously, you want to do more things on the website than just update your beneficiary, but one of the things you definitely want to do, very easy to get there right on the very first page. When you log in, go to account information, beneficiary information, and you can update it right there. Unless you have a unique situation where your trust is your beneficiary or your estate is your beneficiary, then you can print off the beneficiary form, have all the documentation, you send it to us, and then we'll have it on the system. So we handle the beneficiary forms. Or you might have to print it off and sign it if you have a unique situation. Another way to, a lot of times, avoid the probate process is to set up a trust. The best place to go for trust information is the American College of Trusts and Estate Council, which will give you a lot of information on, it's actually in the retirement checklist that you should have, or excuse me, yes, it's one of the websites on the retirement checklist. A lot of great reasons to set up a trust. It's sort of similar to the will, but it's better than a will. You can appoint an executor that, again, can't be contested, can't be changed. You can set up an irrevocable trust where you sign it in ink and that's it. You can't really change it. You can do a trust where you change it up until the point where you're not capacitated enough to. So beneficiaries, trusts, and a will. Make sure those are all taken care of. Power of attorney is also very important. Durable power of attorney and a healthcare durable power of attorney. Both those things are important as well. A living will directs the extent of life-saving treatments. Most important thing about a living will, it's not the same as your will. It's a different one. Different one that says, this is what I want to happen. You say it in your own words. So that's very, very important. And you can also have a healthcare proxy, where the person that you appoint gets to decide. Only the person you appoint gets to decide. And with some of the recent stories in the news, probably like 8 to 10 years ago now, but the Shiloh case is really the one that, I mean, how many years did that go on? Maybe a lot longer than she wanted it to, maybe not. And that's the biggest question is, what do you want? Well, after you're incapacitated, it's still what you want technically, but it's what everyone else thinks you want. Wasn't it better to have down in black and white what you want? That's the main reason in the most high level to set all that up. And really, this is where, one thing about the trusts, and a lot of people think it's rather expensive, and to set up an entire trust, have all the living wills, have all the proxies taken care of, have everything set up, it could be rather expensive. And getting a referral from a company like AARP is very, 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 very helpful when it comes to estate planning. And I got a great example. My parents retired in New Mexico. And they were asking around in New Mexico, all their neighbors, they asked them, who did you get your estate plan through? Who did you get your estate plan through? Well, they found out several names and numbers, and they also found out what the estimated cost was. And they're like, wow, I didn't think it'd be that expensive to set up prepare for my leaving, So they went through AARP, got a referral, and ended up paying half of what their neighbors had paid, just because AARP referred them. The other neighbors went directly to that company and said, all right, I want an estate plan. Okay, that'll be $7,200. My parents went to, I don't know if it's that number, but it's close to that. They went to the same attorney and said, okay, I want an estate plan, $3,000. They went through AARP. So getting a referral from a company like that is going to not only save you money, but also to find out if they're reputable or not. That's the other very important thing. Because yes, you can probably go to any website and get a will and a trust for $19.95. And it'll be approved by everybody, but just make sure it's the right thing. Okay, I know I covered those previous bits of information rather quickly. Are there any other questions I can answer? Okay, because now, get out your checkbooks and we're going to go budget. So, how much money will you need when you retire? That's the magic question. And it used to be dollars. Used to say, okay, I need $1 million. I need $2 million. I need $850,312.42. Unfortunately, it's not an easy number to come up with dollars. In fact, if someone says, how much money do I need? Any financial advisor would have to ask probably anywhere between 10 and 40 questions just to come up with an idea. So in general, that's how much you need. You need 75 to 80% of your final income. So let's say your household income the year before you retire is $100,000. You can maintain most likely the same standard of living on $75,000 to $80,000. Depending on your bills in retirement. Now these numbers are really creeping up. Actually, the official financial statistic is between 77 and 94% of your pre-tax, of your pre-retirement income. If you enter retirement full of debt, any mortgage, well, first of all, you shouldn't really be retired. But if you do that, how far do you think Social Security is going to get you? Yeah, probably not that far. So 77 to 94%, and you have to keep the money invested because prices will probably go up, and if you put all your money in the savings account, what's it going to earn? 5-year CD, can you get 1.5? Maybe. So you have to keep up with inflation for that to stay invested, and retirement could very easily be 20 to 30 years. Yes, 20 to 30 years of retirement. So you're like, gosh, I don't know if you retired that long. Yes, you probably do. Where's your income going to come from? It's going to come from Social Security. It's going to come from personal savings, maybe properties, any other investments that you have. The majority of it, though, is going to come from your retirement plan. We already talked about Social Security. There's no guarantee it'll be here forever. Chances are it won't go away entirely. The way I look at Social Security, chances are the benefits might be a little bit later, and you might get a little bit less. Later and less because you're living longer. And a couple of other interesting things on Social Security, which we don't get into now, but there's a lot of things that they're trying to fix the system. One of them is let us invest some of the money ourselves. I don't know how in the world they did this, but guess what they did in 2011? They decreased the amount of money we're putting into Social Security, so that's why you should take an extra 2%, put it where? Put it into your 403B plan. Yes, your Social Security wages are typically 6.2%, but for 2011, because the economy is doing so well, Social Security is so great, it's only 4.2, just for this year. So, just this year though, so make sure you bump up your retirement contribution by that 2%. If you're not putting money in the 403, now's the time to do it with at least the 2%, because your pay will be the same. What expenses are going to go up in retirement? Chances are medical. Hopefully, really that third bullet point should be the first bullet point. You don't want to worry about drugs and medical conditions and long-term care. You don't want to worry about travel and entertainment. Right now you're saving for that vacation. A lot of people save a lot for vacation. And then they save a lot for that vacation, and then what happens? Well, they spend all the money on the vacation, and then they start over again. Save for the next vacation. Some people even stop saving for retirement to go on a vacation. What about a 25-year vacation? A little bit easier to save for retirement. See, that's the whole idea. So a lot more. Hopefully your community costs will go down. Hopefully your mortgage will be sort of kind of paid off, and you won't be saving for retirement anymore. So that's a way the expenses might go down. Okay. Now we have the expense retirement readiness worksheet. If you could pass this to the other, I only told it brought it to this table. Actually now have the sign-in sheet. Yeah, it took a while to get the sign-in sheet going, but if you could just sign in and, did everybody get those? I think everybody got those. Okay. So the retirement readiness worksheet. Notice at the very top you have your monthly income. How much you're going to take from your retirement plan, how much money you're going to take from Social Security, how much money you're going to get from pensions, how much money you're going to get from employment and retirement, for the fun of it, for the joy of it, for health insurance joy, for whatever reason at all. And where's your other income going to come from? So there's all your income. Out of that amount, that's your total monthly income. By the way, do this in pencil with an eraser. So then go down to your monthly expenses. Try to not to fudge. Try to be seriously honest and say, okay, what are all my expenses going to be for real? Or close. If you don't do a budget right now, this is a really good reason to do a budget. If you're not going to have the same income that you have now. Do one thing really kind of funny. Take all your income away except for Social Security and see how far they get you. See, so look at this as a really good tool to find out how close you are to reaching your goal, or how close you're not to reaching your goal. And then look at alternatives to reach your goal. Here are a few of them. Work a little bit longer. Save a little bit more. Work part-time. Again, working part-time. I've talked to a lot of people here already who really like working here and are going to work here till they're 70 years old. That's great. For additional income. Or maybe you want to go do something that, not that you don't love working here, but something you love even more. Like I'm biased to, all I know is when I retire, you know where I'm going to work? I'm going to work at the darn best country club I can find and run carts 2 days a week. So guess what I can do the other 5? Even if it's only 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to play golf every other day. Maybe you always wanted to start a store, or maybe you have a hobby that will pay you a little bit of income. Why not do that in retirement? Or maybe you really you don't have the extra funds to pay for the Medigap, you didn't have enough funds to pay for the extra health care, Starbucks. Someone works 2 days a week at Starbucks, 10 hours a week, guess what? They're in a healthcare plan. So work to get healthcare benefits. So make coffee a couple, I guess flip burgers. No, make coffee a couple days a week. Work at Walmart, say hi to everybody, or whatever else your goal is. Save a little bit more. No, we'll talk to not working anymore. Save more. Don't spend less in retirement. Save more now. Work a little bit. Be very careful about changing your investment mix. Now's not a good time when the market is volatile as it is to say, okay, I only have 5 years left. I'm going to get really, really aggressive. Everybody shake your head with me. Do not do that. You're close to retirement. You want to be more conservative. That's very, very important. But you do have the catch-up option available. The catch-up is every single year, and for the third year in a row, it is still $5,500. Everyone can contribute $16,500. Once you reach the magical age of 50, you get to do an additional $5,500. So someone who is 50 or older gets to put away $22,000 a year towards retirement. And at $5,500 a year, doing it for 5 years results in $36,000 more in your retirement account. Doing it for 10 years results in $100,000 more in your retirement account. And for 15 years, $224,000 in a retirement account more. Now, we did assume, yes, I know, we did assume that a moderate rate of return we assume is 8%, which historically is about a 60 stock, 40 bond mix. Historically, as in very long term, not the last 10 years. I'm not going to go over the last 10 years of the stock market. Just keep in mind that that is extra money you can put away every year. Yes?
That, the second figure, the 22.5, does that include your max IRA contribution, or is the IRA contribution allowable? Is that in addition to that?
You can still do an IRA of $6,000. So $22,000 to the retirement plan, to the 403B plan here at SBU, plus an additional $6,000 into an IRA for 2011 and 2010 and 2009. So we'll see if they ever up it again. So save a little bit more, and it'll pay off in the long run. It's also important to now invest through retirement, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm ready to retire, take all my money out. You don't want to do that because you're going to be retiring for a while, and you want to keep the money invested. So investing for retirement means you have a longer time horizon, and your goal is to accumulate assets in retirement. You're still investing, but your time horizon is a little bit shorter, a little bit less predictable. Your goal is to generate income, but also continue to grow. So that's why if you look at any of our models, any of our suggestions, any of our advice materials, you'll see that a mix at retirement between stocks and bonds should be about 50-50. Half your money is still riding a roller coaster. And let's face it, it's been a pretty serious roller coaster the last decade. Half your money is being drawn out and growing slowly but steadily. But you don't want to get too conservative, because the average money market or savings account right now is paying about 1%. And you think prices this year are going to go up at least 1 or 2%? Maybe more than that? So you don't want to be too conservative and outlive your money. Anybody have a goal of outliving their money? No, some people probably have a goal of living spending their last time or their last day, right? The only question there is what happens when they make up the next day. We just call the kids, I'm coming over. And hope that they put a lot of money in Social Security, so that benefit will last you forever and ever. Okay, still invest your money within the core fund lineup that you have. Put your money in, the majority of the money should be in large companies, smaller portion in mid and small cap, smaller portion international. but don't just look for the best area. Try to diversify a little bit in everything. Also diversify in the bond market. So this is a perfect picture right here for someone in retirement. Of their stock portfolio, 60 to 70% of it's in large companies. Whether that's the index fund, or the Kraft Social Responsible Fund, or the other options that are available. So large cap. Then you have several mid-cap funds, small cap funds. You have the real estate fund, and then you have a broad array of international funds as well. Most important thing is stay diversified even as you enter retirement, because you're going to be there for a while, and you want your money to continue to grow. A couple of services that are available. First of all, with the investment options, you can choose any investment you want, change it around whenever you want. If all your money's in the guaranteed fund, tomorrow you say, you know what, I don't want to be guaranteed anymore, I'm going to switch it all to any other fund in the plan, you can do that. There aren't really many limitations within the plan. However, please don't go in and out of funds every single day. You know, if you're doing that, if you're looking at your 403B plan or your defined contribution plan every day and thinking of making changes on it every day, go get a new hobby. Try something you have more control over. All these mutual funds that Kibble and Prentice and Diversified and the Retirement Committee here review on a very regular basis, they're good funds. If they're not good funds, then it's going to be our job to find a new one that is in the same category. So those funds are reviewed on a very regular basis. Make sure you're in a good mix. Change your investments periodically. Maybe just go with the target date fund where you say, all right, one fund, I like the Vanguard 2020 or 2025, and I'm done. Or you can choose Portfolio Express. Portfolio Express, another way to describe it, anybody seen the Staples commercial, the whole world's going nuts? And what does someone do? They press the easy button. There's the easy button for your retirement account. Because what it does, it uses all the funds in the core lineup and bases it on the year you're planning on using the money. And then, every 3 to 5 years, we are automatically going to make you more conservative. What we're also going to do is rebalance it every 3 months. So if something goes haywire in any area of the market, and one of your funds have become out of whack, if you will, Diversified will automatically go in and put it back in that mix. And we'll do that on a quarterly basis if your portfolio moves by more than 5%. That's part of Portfolio Express, or you can do it, say you have your own mix set up, but you want sort of just one backing to make sure it doesn't change too much. You can set up auto rebalance, which is one of the features on the website. But use Portfolio Express if you want to be more hands-off, but you like all the funds in the core lineup. Any questions on those? Okay, use our tools. Use the Diversified website. One of the great ones is RetireTrack. RetireTrack is a probability forecast model that uses all the information you provide, all the information on your retirement accounts. Here at SPU, we already know that. Enter all your other retirement accounts, and then you'll come up with a forecast. And yes, it is a true forecast. You might not like it the first time you see that forecast because it's going to be somewhere between rain and bright sunshine. If you see rain, that means you haven't given us enough information. Doesn't mean forget it, I'm going to retire here, rain northwest. It means give us more information. It might not be close enough to your goal, but once you enter all your retirement accounts, once you enter the 9% SPU contribution, once you enter, if you have other plans, if you plan on retiring with your spouse, usually if you have a spouse, you're going to retire with your spouse, right? Enter all their information, and it's a true probability forecast model. The other great thing about it is every company in the world offers a product like this as you approach retirement. Some of them actually print off nice thick pages with fancy graphs on them and all this other fun, exciting stuff that you really can't understand, what do you also have to do? Well, you either have to pay them or move all your money to them. With this feature, with Retire Track, enter the information every 6 months, every 3 months, change it as often as you'd like. It's a free service, take advantage of it. Okay, this is your plan of a lifetime. Yes, it's your plan of a lifetime, not really bad, but it is. Use the tools and resources that are available. Our retirement counseling service through Transamerica Retirement Services, they can give you general information. They can give you specific advice. The great thing about Secure Path, they are licensed employees. They are salaried employees. And they're there to give you information. They're not there to sell you the best product they're going to make the most money on that day. Because there isn't any. That's really one of the differences with Diversified in its entirety. I'm a salaried employee. Every employee at Diversified is there for one reason, to assist you with retirement. So visit all the websites, use all the tools and resources that are available, but most importantly, just educate yourself to the point where you say, okay, this is the amount of money I need, this is how close I am. How do I do the final step to getting there? Hopefully some of the information I've given you today has given you an idea of what steps you need to take to get there. And if you didn't remember everything I covered, ready for the test. Who's going to take the test now? Isn't that usually what happens at the end? You take a test. Okay. Now, how about go to the retirement readiness checklist? Retirement readiness checklist. Hey, what are my distribution options? What are my Social Security benefits going to be? Do I have my beneficiary set up online? When does Medicare tell me I should, well, you should take Medicare. You're going to take Medicare right away. But when does Social Security tell me I'm going to get my best benefit, or when do I want to take my best benefit from Social Security? To use this checklist as a general guide, and here's a listing of a lot of the websites that I went over throughout the presentation as well. I'd like to thank everyone for their time tonight. What other questions can I answer right now? Yes?
On the battery of 20 approved funds that you guys, they're reviewed quarterly, is that right, or semi-annually? Which is,
They're reviewed quarterly.
and then if there is to be a change, and let's say we just finished the quarter, so I don't know if you're using the same quarter, but if there is to be a change, would it be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, how long, how much time would go by before the list would be changed?
You want to respond to that, or I mean,
Sure. That makes sense?
What would happen in that situation is, and let's talk about actual dates. So 3/31 quarter obviously just ended, and we're meeting on, Gary help me out, I think it's the 19th as a committee. I don't believe, and I haven't seen the data yet, but I don't believe there will be any replacement funds. But let's say there was a replacement fund. I would bring to that meeting a short list of recommended funds. As a committee, we would agree on a replacement fund. I would say within 2 weeks from that date, a communication will go out to participants saying XYZ fund is a non-conforming fund, will be replaced by ABC fund. You'll have a 30-day window to decide what you want to do with your balance in a non-conforming fund. And if you do nothing, it'll automatically be mapped to the successor fund. So it's a bit of a time lag, but the key issue is you won't necessarily be forced into the new fund. I mean, that's the default action. Sure. But you can take the balance in that non-conforming fund and move it into any of the other options. But if you do nothing, that non-conforming fund will be eliminated, and that balance will be moved into a similar category fund.
Okay, so 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And hopefully that's an infrequent event. I would expect maybe 1 or 2 funds a year to attrition off. But that's something that we would hope is not something that happens frequently.
You can always come up with a radar if something were to happen to any of the funds as well. Okay, great. So thank you very much for your time.